Gramsci's long journey, a revolution for all, or for Sardinia. Was Antonio Gramsci fighting for universal liberation, or simply for the liberation of those who spoke the pain he knew best? Born into the poverty of Sardinia, Gramsci's first political instinct was not shaped by theory, but by memory, the silence of rural suffering, the forgotten South, the injustice that clung to identity like heritage. As he moved north, met Marx, and entered the world of revolutionary socialism, his focus shifted, from Sardinian peasants to the international working class. But did the core ever change? Did Gramsci embrace socialism to free everyone equally, or to better organize the emotions and demands of a particular people under the language of class struggle? In this video, we follow Gramsci's intellectual evolution and ask a fundamental question: was it the universal that shaped him, or the particular that haunted him? Join us as we uncover the deep continuity between ethnic nationalism and socialism in Gramsci's thought, and explore whether every revolution starts with a personal wound. 1. Consciousness of oppression. From Sardinia to the working class in his early nationalist phase, Gramsci's awareness of oppression was rooted in the poverty and marginalization of southern Italy, particularly Sardinia. He saw how Sardinians were systematically neglected by the state and economically exploited by the industrial north. This created a deep emotional and political identification with the Sardinian peasantry. As he adopted socialism, Gramsci universalized this awareness. No longer was the victim merely the Sardinian farmer, it was the entire working class, exploited by the bourgeoisie across Italy. His lens shifted from regional injustice to systemic class struggle. Yet the emotional foundation of his thought, defending the downtrodden, remained unchanged. 2. Resistance to hegemony. From north-south inequality to class struggle during his nationalist period, Gramsci viewed the industrial north as a hegemonic power over the agrarian south. His resistance was aimed at this internal colonialism, the way in which the Italian state privileged northern interests while ignoring the south's needs. Later, in his Marxist phase, Gramsci reframed this dominance in terms of capitalist hegemony. It was not just geographic or regional, it was ideological and structural. The bourgeoisie maintained control not only through economics but through media, education, and culture. Gramsci's concept of cultural hegemony thus grew out of, but did not contradict, his earlier rejection of domination. 3. Collective liberation. From Sardinian solidarity to class solidarity in the nationalist phase, Gramsci believed in collective liberation, but defined it in terms of Sardinian identity. He sought justice for a specific group, rooted in shared land, language, and history. With socialism, this search for collective emancipation expanded. The struggle was now between labor and capital, not Sardinians and Italians. Gramsci called for solidarity among all workers and peasants, beyond ethnic lines. But the core idea remained: liberation is not an individual act, it requires collective awareness and coordinated resistance. 4. Power of civil society. From local resistance to workers' councils, even in his nationalist years, Gramsci emphasized the potential of bottom-up resistance. Local Sardinian communities, with their shared norms and tight networks, represented the seeds of civil society capable of challenging centralized power. Later, he gave this idea a more organized form: factory councils. These were not just labor structures, but spaces of political education and democratic participation. In both phases, Gramsci believed in the power of civil institutions to shape consciousness and contest hegemony, whether through village solidarity or proletarian councils. 5. Justice-oriented revolutionary ethics. A moral constant throughout all phases of his thought, Gramsci maintained a revolutionary moral compass grounded in justice. Whether advocating for Sardinian farmers or the industrial proletariat, his focus was not just on structural change, but on ethical legitimacy. His activism was always animated by a moral claim, that the status quo was unjust, and that the oppressed had the right and duty to resist it. Gramsci never reduced politics to strategy alone. For him, revolution must be rooted in ethical transformation and the building of a more just society. Conclusion. A thematic continuity beneath political shift. Gramsci's journey from ethnic nationalism to socialism was not a rupture, but a reorientation. His subject changed, from Sardinian peasants to the international proletariat, but his themes remained: oppression, resistance, collective emancipation, the role of civil society, and ethical revolution. This thematic coherence makes Gramsci one of the most intellectually consistent and politically relevant thinkers of the modern era.